Hi everyone, welcome to Lady in the Red Bandana. I am here today with a work colleague actually, and a very special friend of mine. Her name is Samantha. So not only is she a beauty therapist, she used to be my teacher at school, at high school. So hello Samantha.
Hello, Mish.
How are you doing? You okay?
I'm good, thank you very much. Yeah, how about yourself?
Yes, very good, thank you. So I'm so excited having you on because
Oh, that's
you are my
awesome.
friend as well. So it's really cool.
Yeah, it's a real privilege. Thank you very much for having me.
You're very welcome. So let's get started. If you want to tell the viewers and the listeners a little bit about yourself.
So, as Mish said, my name is Samantha. I am 45 for my sins now. I was a teacher many years ago. And so I've had quite a big career change as my life has progressed. So as Mish said, I taught for 16 years at the same school. And so I've seen many people go through those doors, one of them being Mish, which was lovely. And then later on, when I retrained to become a beauty therapist, she then trained me. So how the tables have turned, don't you think? So that's me now. So 16 years of teaching and now last 5+ years as a beauty therapist and holistic therapist at Sheeda's Beauty Clinic. Yeah, so hopefully there'll be many, many more years of doing what I'm doing now and still working at the clinic, which is brilliant. So yeah, I'm very lucky to have had two fantastic careers in two fantastic places. So yeah, very privileged.
Obviously started with teaching. So how did you get started with that? What were your interests that made you get into teaching?
Okay, so I was always quite interested in education when I was younger. I'm a complete little geek. So when I was at school, I loved learning. I loved being at school. I loved the teachers and I loved learning. I wasn't the most popular kid and I didn't have a huge circle of friends. I certainly didn't go to school for the social side of things. That wasn't me, but I loved going into my lesson. When I finished my education, I started a degree at home because at that point, so this is Suffolk, where I was born and bred. At that point, my father had had an industrial accident and was quite poorly, and I didn't want to leave. So I started a degree in education, but in my hometown. After a little bit, without going into all of those details, I actually decided that, you know what, I'm quite creative. I loved textiles, I loved fashion. And what I really wanted to do was potentially teach in the future, but I wanted to study textiles. So that was my thing that I wanted to do. So I upped sticks. I dropped out of the course that I was doing. I applied to university and I came up to Leicestershire and did a degree in textile design and surface decoration. So that was my sort of initial background. When I came out of my degree, I took a job working as a teaching assistant, so as a TA for a year in Leicester. And during that time, I met a fantastic teacher called Rob Croft, who totally took me under his wing. And he just kept saying, you know, you need to do this properly, don't you? You know, you need to actually do this for real. And he would put me in front of his classes. He let me plan lessons. He was really nurturing. I don't think you get away with doing that these days, actually. And so I did get to a point where I thought, you know what? Yeah, I want to be in charge of this. I want to be in charge of my classroom and I want to teach art. So I left that job, took a year out working in an office at Walker's Crisps to get some money together, applied for my PGCE, so my teacher training. Did that for the next year after that, and then I qualified as a design teacher in 2000 and got my first job, which was at the school that Mish was at in Market Harborough. And then I continued teaching there, teaching art and design for the next 16 years.
So obviously that was a passion of yours, but now you're a beauty therapist. So can you tell us a bit more about what changed, what happened to make you want to, or to push you in that direction?
Okay, I would always want to get students, I did meditation lessons with students. I would burn joss sticks in the classroom to calm them down. I was always really interested in their well-being. And so when I got to a point where I was coming out of teaching for various reasons. So I was physically poorly, not mentally poorly. Lots of people come out of teaching because they sort of have some kind of mental breakdown with it, which is completely understandable, to be honest, because it's very, very stressful. But I was physically poorly. And without going into too many details, I eventually lost that job because of my illness. I have endometriosis, which and Mish knows this all too well, is a debilitating chronic illness. It's not covered by the Disability Discrimination Act. So if you are poorly with it and you are in and out of hospital having multiple surgeries, and so on, as I was, you are then not fit deemed to work, or let's say okay for the school to say you're not fit to work. And so I lost that job. Leading up to that point though, I was already doing a course for myself in massage therapy. Because it was something that I thought would help me. It was good for my mental health. It was just another interest. So even though art and design was my initial background and my first love, holistic therapies was something that I'd always been interested in as well. So when I came out of teaching, at that point, I'd been a client at Sheeda's beauty clinic for a number of years. And I used to lay on the couch, as my clients do now, and offload to Mishy and offload to her mum and get fantastic advice back. And eventually, the advice that I was getting predominantly from Sheeda herself was, I need somebody here. Why don't you come and work for me? So what? Because I was saying, look, I'm a teacher. No, I turned it down several times. No, I'm a teacher. I can't do this. I can't change completely. And I was actually terrified, I'll be completely honest. And she really gave me the confidence to pursue this additional love that I had, and then gave me the opportunity. So this was now learning, but from a whole new avenue. So, and just being surrounded by people that were equally as passionate, which was amazing. And these, you know, in this fantastic holistic environment that was enabling me to follow my passion and nurturing this kind of new me, this new confident me. I'd been through some other stuff as well with I was getting divorced at the same time, coming out of a particularly nasty relationship, and so my confidence was at an all-time low. And it was fantastic to be put into an environment that just made me go, but I could still learn. So it was the most amazing opportunity, and I can never thank, you know, the clinic, Sheeda and Mish enough for giving me that opportunity.
Well-being and mind is so important these days, and I think it was important back then too, but I think it's being made more obvious now we've been put into a certain situation. So yeah. With what you did was with your students was way before your time to have done it. So it's almost like you've initiated that, and then it's come full circle for you that you've been put in that environment too. You know, it shows that karma works in that way too, which is lovely.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and as I say, it is such a privilege to still be doing something where I'm helping people. So I've always had careers where I've helped people, whether it's to get a qualification or to then feel better about themselves. And bizarrely, when I'd not been with you guys for very long, I bumped into a couple of ex-A-level students that I'd spent a lot of time with, helping through some issues that they had outside of their work. And they, one of them said, "Yeah, so are you still teaching at Robert Smythe, Miss?" And I said, no, this is what I'm doing now. And I explained what I was doing. And they looked at each other and went, yeah, we always knew you'd go on and do something like that. And it just felt like, how did everybody know this before me? So, which was, incredibly empowering.
With empowerment, you should feel empowered yourself as well as give that out to other people. So I'm guessing you feel quite empowered, like what you said, with what you do.
Yeah.
And what you have done previously for other people too. So how do you want to make the people, so your audience, your clients, in your personal life as well, how do you want to make them feel?
If I can speak to somebody, let them offload, and then give them an insight into something that I may have experienced myself, whether it's similar or not, but that helps them to then feel that it's okay either to go and get help or to ask for help, and as I say, and to sometimes not be okay, but then you pull yourself up by your bootstraps and then you look for a way to be okay. And if I can instigate that, then I think that's really important. I've so as I said earlier, I've dealt with having a horrid relationship for many years that absolutely crushed me. When I look back, I really realized just how I lost myself through that time. And when I came out of that relationship, I really needed to find who I was again. That sounds like such a cliche, but it's not. It was at a time when everything was changing in my life. I was being told that I wasn't able to have children. I was getting divorced. I started again. I was losing my job. But I had good people around me at the time that gave me the power to go and say, actually, if I have therapy myself, if that's okay, it's not a weakness. If I ask friends for help and support, then again, that's not a weakness, that's okay. So if I can share those experiences with people, I think that's all too important.
It's really good, isn't it, that our job and our industry is all about obviously looking after people, making people feel really lovely when they leave. And sometimes people like talking to people outside of their initial bubble, so to speak.
Yeah.
If they like talking to people about their personal life because they get given different advice.
Yeah.
It's all too well that we get that, you know, we know it as well when we talk to each other. Oh, you'll be okay, everything will be all right, don't worry about it. And that's, I'm not saying all friends and family do that, but some friends and family do that, and it's a bit of a pat on the head and you'll be okay, go along your way. Whereas when you talk to your beauty therapist, your hairdresser, your nail technician, your skin therapist, it's a completely different environment. You're in their environment, you are relaxed, you feel comfortable, or you should feel comfortable. And it's nice to hear somebody say, well, actually, why don't you try this?
Like you say, when people come in, if they want to offload something to somebody that doesn't have that personal, so, you know, we're not friends, we're not family, and it's completely non-judgmental and it's a totally safe space. If they can come in and offload, and I can empower them to where by the time they leave, to even if they just feel a tiny bit better about the prospects of their life, you know, what the potential outcome might be, then, you know, that's incredibly invaluable. So as I say, we're never claiming to be mental health experts or therapists. You know, I'm not a counsellor, and so I don't preach at people. But if they want to offload, I can just listen. Or if they want advice, then I can say, yeah, okay, this is what worked for me.
We advise so much to our clients, not only on a personal level, but on a professional level as well. That is what people come into us for, and what they come into you for. Now, what forms of self-care do you participate in? Because our job is a hard one. I'm not saying that all industries aren't hard, but I know from personal experience, our job is difficult sometimes. So what forms of self-care do you participate in to make sure you're looking after yourself?
Okay, my biggest thing that I've done for years and years and years, and that I absolutely love, is my yoga practice. So I try to make time for that every day, even if it's only for sort of 10 minutes, 20 minutes a day. And I just think it's invaluable. So it's not just about looking after your body, you know, so not just your flexibility and so on, and your strength. Although it absolutely gives me the ability to massage and the ability to stay on my feet all day and so on. But it's great for your mental health as well, I find. I am very careful about what I eat. I don't diet. I don't like the idea of diets, particularly because you don't stick to them. So I'm just careful about, I don't sort of calorie count as such, but I'm aware of, you know, how much I'm eating on a daily basis as well, and putting good things that nurture my body into my body, lots of fresh foods and so on. On top of that as well, probably one of the biggest things that in the last sort of 10 years, so from a client, when I was a client at Sheeda's and also now as a therapist, is that I do look after my body externally. So I look after my skin. I have a great skincare routine, which I love. And I think all of those things should be about making them part of your everyday routine. So I don't do anything in my self-care that, whether it's, you know, cleansing my face, exercising, eating well, that isn't just part of my natural day-to-day life now. So nothing that feels forced, nothing that I feel resentful of. So my self-care is about the whole kind of mind, body, soul. So it's a whole package.
I know that Samantha has got so much good advice to give to people. We wouldn't let her loose in the clinic if not. So what would you say to people who just said, like I said, oh, I saw this on the internet, and this, it says that it makes you young in 5 minutes. How would you advise that person? What would be the advice that you'd give to them?
The thing about having random stuff that's just put out on the internet is that it's not personalized. So everybody's skin is going to be completely different. Everybody has different needs. So the first thing I always want to do is to get somebody to come in, lay down, relax, take off their makeup, and let me have a look at what their skin is really like, and then talk to them about what their existing routine is as well. So that so the main bit of advice is come and have that personal treatment. And that isn't just me about promoting and wanting people to come into the clinic, which of course I do, because we do a damn good job, but it's about getting people to understand that a good skincare routine is something that should be prescribed for you. Looking after your skin is the same as looking after your body. And we always kind of use the analogy of like it being like an exercise routine. You can't eat only 500 calories for a day and expect to be slim at the end of the day, and then go back to eating cake for the rest of the week. You can't. There's no point in paying for a personal trainer every Saturday if you then don't do anything during the week and just eat junk. And it's the same with your skin. There is no miracle cure to this. The answer is education, always education. I think across everything that I do and across all of my life, I've always thought that being educated in whatever it is so empowering. So education is the key. So talk to somebody that knows what they're talking about and that can prescribe for you what you need for your skin, so that you, sorry, I'm pointing now, so that you can completely understand what you need to do, and then you stick to it, because it takes time and nothing in this life is easy. You don't get things just handed to you on a plate. If you expect that, you are wrong. So you have to, the best things to achieve the things that you work for. I think that's so important, because when you then see the results of that, think how amazing that makes you feel, because you've done that, you've worked for it. So yeah, definitely, going back to your question, sorry, come and see one of us to have your skin looked at properly, and please don't try miracle cures, because they don't work.
I just want to say a really big thank you for coming on. I know you're a little bit nervous, but it was but no, it was really good, really insightful. It came from the heart. Definitely, you could tell it came from the heart.
Maybe a little bit waffly, apologies, but
no, you're all good. You're all good. That's what this is all about. This is about finding out about the real you. So yeah, really lovely. So awesome. Thank you very much.
Thanks. Firstly, your mind. I am a big believer, as I've said lots of times, in education. I think you need to stay curious and stay passionate. So to keep my mind active, as I said, I like to read, but I like to have things around me that stimulate me. So it might be a really good podcast to listen to. It might be images on the wall that I love to look at. So just stimulate your brain. So keep your brain active, and it doesn't have to be sitting and doing maths. It's just getting your brain to be active. So stay curious about the things around you all the time. For your soul, but also for your mind, I would say meditate. For anyone that doesn't already do it, or hasn't experienced it, or maybe has and thought, no, I can't do this, it does take a little bit of practice maybe, but meditating, I think taking some time out for yourself each day where it's okay to take that time and to actually quieten the thinking brain is really, really important. So it turns you inward, and not in a bad or arrogant way, but it just really helps to reset the body and reset the mind. So learning how to do that, finding some time to do that, I think is incredibly important. And then lastly, and this might seem a bit of an odd one to some people, but one thing I do every single day, even if I don't get a chance to do any other exercise or yoga, is I lay with my legs up the wall. And that might sound odd, but you would be amazed at how therapeutic it is. And what I mean by that, in case anybody's not sure, so you put your bottom against the wall, so lay on your back with your bum against the wall and swing your legs up so you're at 90 degrees. I know not everybody's going to be able to do that, but if you've never done it, try it. What it does is it takes pressure off your heart. So there's a lot of physical reasons for doing this as well as mental reasons. So physically, it takes pressure off your heart, it takes pressure off your internal organs. So it helps to relax the body in that sense, and it helps with circulation. So if you have restless legs, like I do quite a lot of the time, or you're on your feet all day, you just need to give them a break, and actually elevating them is a really good way of doing that. And so then if you're also thinking, I don't have time for this meditation malarkey and I don't have time to listen to podcasts, lay on your back with your legs up the wall for 20 minutes and do it then. So you can kill like literally 3 birds with 1 stone then. So that is what I would say. So out of those 3, I would absolutely advocate lay on your back with your legs up the wall for 20 minutes every day, and just shut your eyes, close off, meditate or listen to a podcast. And by the time you put your legs down again, you will feel so rejuvenated. It's so, so good for you.
We have been the lady in the red bandana, and we want you to be empowered to believe in yourself.